So, the Gabon air disaster, of course, it was a heartbreaking moment for anybody associated with Zambian football. But this was a group of players that you had forged relationships with, coming from AFCON 1992. Just tell us your reflections.
Hindsight, my good friend, something in my heart died. Because I will tell you, I have not been as close to the national teams as I was with that team to this day. For some reason, it died.
I want to ask you this. Ultimately, there was talk about the team needing to be rebuilt, the question of whether Zambian football should continue and soldier on. What was your honest feeling at the time? Down, broken, dejected, can't continue?
For their sake, we must continue. That was my feeling. And we did. And by the way, don't forget, I'm not involved in FAS at the time. I'm just a soccer fan. Yeah. So I went to see Mr. Gumbo, who was then acting president. And I said to him, boss, there's no pulling out. Otherwise, those souls were given for nothing. We're going ahead. That's how we even started strategizing. There's a part of history that most people don't know. Mr. Gumbo actually invited me to travel down to Botswana at my own expense to go and negotiate for Fred Muira, who was recently honored. And I was so elated that finally has been recognized. That was the unsung hero of Zambian football. We went to Botswana with Mr. Gumbo, and in Botswana, it was interesting. We got to see the Botswana Football Association first, of course after the embassy. And I was introduced as a football consultant. It's the first time I had heard that statement. I thought I was just a soccer fan. And they allowed me to sit in all the meetings. We negotiated for the Botswana FA to cut short his contract. And Fred at the time was both coach for the national team of Botswana and the Township Rollers. Then we went to meet Township Rollers. We negotiated for his contract to be again cut short. And we came back with Fred. I bought him the ticket. The Football Association had no money. And I remember that time to reconstruct the national team, we had the coaches on the Copper Belt, coaches in the Midlands, select. And then Fred came and made his last number. And Fred is the coach who reconstructs the national team. I want to make that very, very emphatic point.
Where do you put Rod Pawson?
Rod Pawson was a helper when they went to Denmark to assist Fred. Unfortunately, most people don't like me saying this, but I'll say it. He began to usurp Fred Muir's position. And Fred Muir didn't like it. So when that team comes back from Belgium, the politics was such that Fred and Pawson were not getting along. Unfortunately, or fortunately, that's the time I'm appointed to the interim committee. And I'm aware of these politics.
You are now vice chairman of the Football Association of Zambia. And then what is the first thing you do when you walk in? Automatically, you've now taken a position. You don't like Rod Pawson's guts. And then you have already taken the position to support Fred Muir. What's the first thing you do?
On the coaching staff, we decided to let both of them go. And Fred went back to Botswana. Pawson went back to
Why
Denmark.
was that necessary?
Peace. Unity.
Qualitatively, there was no motivation for you to actually broker that both smoke the peace pipe and for the sake. Would you say they were both brilliant, and if they could have worked together,
we would have had a brilliant coaching team. Yeah.
It's a matter of egos.
No, it was a matter of fact. Fred was the coach. Ronald Paulson should have submitted. Why did he want to usurp Fred's position? You see that? And you know, as we talk, I have worked with a lot of Zambian and expatriate coaches. That's why you've heard my voice, and I've been consistent. There is nothing wrong with Zambian coaches. We do not invest in them. That's all. If you give me a choice even today, I'll choose a Zambian coach.
Tell me something. Ernest Mate actually resigns, and you become the boss proper at the Football Association of Zambia. Just tell us your reflections about that one.
I was quite young. I think I was what, 33? When I became chairman of FAS. And by the way, the appointment hits me while I'm in Tunisia with the national team, because I was the chief delegation leader. Are you with me? In the Tunisia AFCON. It was heavy. It was very heavy. And my committee was not made up of young people. They were all older than me, some by far.
Now, being an African, I can imagine the culture shock. And now you needed to play boss to people who are way older than you.
Yes, the challenge was there, but goodness is I'm an African. We were taught how young people respond to adults. I'm sorry, your generation doesn't know that. So that's why you miss it. You think all of us who are gray-haired now should be wrapped up and killed or thrown away. No, no. I knew how to respond to Ken Ompashi at the time. He later became a general. Julio Chiluba, Dr. Smwinga, one good Malunga, you know. I knew that as adults I needed to give them the due respect, which I did. And then...
and that meant directing them?
Yes, but there's a way in which you can do it without causing any offense. And I was aware of that. Now, but the advantage I had is that I had all these seasoned people around me.
What was the secret of CAN 94 with hindsight?
When
the whole world doesn't expect us to do anything. Probably a lot of people are looking at us from a sympathy perspective, but we go there and just fail to make it in the final. Imagine. Against a little known Emmanuel Amunike.
A professional side of Nigerians. And from the beginning, first of all, I want to give tribute to the late Ben Bamfchide. And there's another unsung hero in this country, Fordson Kabore. For me, those two are the people I could give credit to. If I was giving medals of honor, right, it's those two. And then there's the coach, Ian Petterfield. In that order, by the way. I was there with that team. I was there in the training. I traveled on the bus with them. In fact, I delegated my delegation leader's car to former president, Rupiah Banda, and the adults around him, Muluvisha. I told my driver, these are the fathers of Zambian football. You chauffeur them and take them wherever they want. I used to jump on the bus with the team. So I knew the entire atmosphere of the team. I wasn't divorced from them. I had learned that lesson from '92. I saw what the delegation leader did there, and I said, no, sir, not in my term.
I've got a question. Now, you as the boss at the wheel, you were sharing your reflections about there not being a very hospitable atmosphere for Kalusha in CAN 92. But at CAN 94, when his colleagues...
Complete atmosphere. The leadership Kalusha Walia provided in 94 is what you would expect, and even more, of a captain.
What did he do?
He provided leadership. He shared his experience. Remember, this is the team we just put together. 14 of them Zambian local players who a year before nobody even talked about it because we thought we had a national team at the time. You get the point? Suddenly they come together. And Kalu provided leadership. I was his delegation leader. I was his chairman. And I involved him in a lot of decisions, actually. Together with the team manager, Solipando, late Solipando, who I brought into the fold, because I also remember him in '92 Senegal. Then there are the coaches, particularly Ben and Fortune.
Did the captain of the side take it personal, and would it be a classic case of character, seeing that, okay, yeah, he was a talented player, but his peers gone, and then now he has to carry. Did that change him as a person from your perspective?
I don't know what went through his mind, but I can tell you, the Kalu I saw in Senegal was lonely. Very, very lonely. The Kalu I saw in Tunisia was a leader and very involving. We dealt with the issues of the team. We had issues, differences. Yeah? There were times where I remember almost separating a near fight in training. These guys came and crashed just in front of me, and when they stood up, they grabbed each other's throats. So I quickly walked onto the pitch, and the coaches are on the far side. But I quickly walked onto the pitch and said, no guys, I won't have this. We are one team, one family. Well, you mentioned about what was the spirit of 94.
Yeah.
One team, one family. That's why even the late Mbasela was sent home. He broke that spirit.
What did he do?
We were going to play Senegal. A crucial match that would take us into the semi-finals. And we all are on the bus, about to go. Suddenly somebody says, oh, we are missing one person. Who? Mbasela. Kenneth. Maritore was his roommate. Kenneth, what's your roommate? Says, he just said he's going to Bath. I said, what? But now when we're leaving, he says, I don't think he's coming. So Carlos stood up and said, no, Captain, think about the game. Ian blew his face and said, Coach, think about the game. That's my burden. It's now out of your hands. Let's go and play. And we beat them 1-0. Ivan Sakala. Are you with me?
Did you need to consult, or it was just that I am personally not going to
We brought him back. We came back. I called the meeting. Solipando, Late Bamfuchide, myself. Basela, come here. What's the story? No, the coach is being unfair to me. I haven't even played the game. Hasn't he explained to you why you're not playing? And the coach did. He told him, I can't use all my players in the first rounds. What if we move further up, like we did now? I need to have a surprise down my shoulder, my sleeve. I said, but he explained to you. After all, how would you feel? Why would you feel that when Ben Bamfuchide is your coach even at Nkana? Me, I'm a Nkana supporter. So what made you do that? Sorry, you have to go. And politics came in. The minister, late Chintala, called us for a meeting. And that's the meeting I saw the other side of Ian Porterfield. We walked in there, observed our protocols. And just when we were about to sit, Ian stood up. I said to him, Coach, I tried to,
calm him down.
He says, Mr. Minister, I have asked Soli to give me my passport. I'm going home. You coach the team.
What was the minister's reaction? And what was your reaction?
Come down. He says, no, come down. I thought I could just consult with you whether there was room for the player to come back. Are you with me? We were getting phone calls from Zambia that he must stay. Then that's the time I said to Ian, you've made your point. Take a seat. Minister, what have we to say.
Was Gibi remorseful?
No, we never met him from Tunis, Sousse, up to Tunis, we never met him. He just disappeared. But his agent was on us. The Esperance soccer fans were on us. The whole executive came to meet us. I met them with myself, Kalusha, and I think the third person was Ben Bavchir. We explained to them the situation. We said, we are not a club.
So Gibi was happy to go home?
I don't know. I don't know. We explained to them that, listen, we are not a club. We don't have time to deal with players' attitudes and everything. Ours is short. And they actually acknowledged. They said, no, actually, even at Esperance, Maritole, best player we've had from Africa. But this one is like a donkey. You have to hit to get him to work. That's what they told us. But the matter closed. After that, we moved on. Yeah.
So no regret?
No, I don't.
He had to go?
If it happened again today, I would make the same decision. None whatsoever.
You're not heartbroken that such a talented player couldn't...
My friend, you see, that's the issues of leadership. What happened in my room is something else. Yeah, you know, but I had to keep peace together. And, you know, for some reason, he had even developed a lot of bad relationships with other players. But that didn't count. What counted was that the one family, one team spirit was broken. And everybody else had been told to observe it.
Tell me something. I want to ask this question because at around that time, 1994, when you are in charge of the Football Association of Zambia as vice chairman and chairman, and really the structure adjustment program was just beginning to, I think, really kick in after the change of government in 1991. What did that mean for football? What did it mean going forward in terms of what needed to be done?
ZCCM was the mother of a lot of clubs, starting from Chirilabombwe right up to Ndola. A lot of clubs. ZCCM being on its knees meant that a lot of these clubs were in trouble. Later on, I tried to even encourage a friend who was in a bus business, who still is, and said to him, you go for Free Wanderers, I will go for Nkana, you know, in this sale of assets. And he went to Mfurira. He tried to take over that club. They told him, you're welcome, but you can't have the stadium. It didn't make sense. He said, no, I want to buy everything. He said, no, 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 you can't have the stadium, but you can have the club. That's how we abandoned that project. I was to make proposals to the Football Association Council, where I'd even proposed what recently happened, streams. I said, okay, for the meantime, and this is something Kalu had told me about Mexico. In chatting with him, we had sat, we talked about football a lot. He said, in Mexico, we have 4 divisions in the Super League. 4. North, South, West, and East. That's why you'd hear that Kalu's team has won their division, but they lost the knockouts.
The champions.
Yeah, yeah. Says that is because it helps cut on costs. I suggested it here. It was shut down. I said, guys, we're killing ZCCM teams. They will not survive if we cannot help them capitalize from within football.
But that short space of time, with hindsight, was when the anvil dropped at 91, change of government, the structural adjustment program is kicking in. Was there realization of what that really meant from the footballing fraternity in your view?
I don't even government understood what structural adjustment would do. That's what I can tell you there. I don't think so. Because a lot of decisions they made then, hindsight, are regrettable. So maybe for another day we can discuss the economic and political side of me.
And yeah. So it so happens that you also spread your tentacles to the political side of things. But you tell me something. Ultimately, over and above, how would you describe the need to do at that time? Because I'm looking at even the cup competitions at the time, Mosi Cup, Chubuku Cup, everything was seemingly being bankrolled by quasi-government institutions, including the clubs.
Yes.
So the concept of running football as a business at that time
was never there, and is still not there. What we are doing now is almost like patching.
Ridgewell, in his book, The Zambian Soccer Scene, quotes you saying that, or suggesting that football was some sort of sport brat that needed to grow up or needed to be weaned off. Do you still stand by that position?
Yes. What has football been weaned off, so to speak?
I ask this question is because
let's
commercial basis.
Let's just quickly go through. Not that we wish it to happen, but assume a new management comes at Zesco. New management that is thinking of profit and things like that. You think they will keep the football team? Zanaco. Do you get my point?
That it happened to Zamshu.
You have to. Zamshu is gone, friend. NPF or NAPSA. Are you with me? Assuming a different management walks in and that thinks, how much are we spending on football? Ha ha ha. Are you with me? So we are still at that stage where everything is delicate. Delicate. These clubs cannot stand on their own. It is pretense. It is pretense.
Is it an illusion? And for the last 20, 30 years in our football, to even think of running football as a business?
In the structure we have, yes. In the structure we have, yes. Here's what I think through.
But 30 years, that illusion hasn't been broken down.
Nobody has bothered to bite the bullet, my good friend. We haven't. But within this same model, we can evolve a different one. What do I mean?
Who should bite the bullet?
The people in football, first of all, the councillors, should sit down and say, where is our football going? And what could happen? We are still courting a disaster, my good friend. Yeah. Because right now, for instance, our stadiums are empty. Everywhere you go, except maybe a few places like Rokana, in Ghana. But we may need to sit down and say, let's look at a different structure. What do I mean? One club per town.
Would you agree with the following statement? Simataa Simataa, the most misunderstood man, or the hardest man to understand in terms of football.
I think I try and explain myself away. But for some reason, people think...
When you sit in your little corner.
I actually weep, cry, and say, how could people not see what I'm saying? Maybe I like to think 10 years from now, 20 years from now. So it's a bit difficult for the mindset around to think like that. Are you with me? I'll give a simple example. 92, 91, I'm battling with a call of God on my life. You know that? Maybe you may not understand. Do I go and become a pastor? Or do I work as a banker? It's a big battle. Fortunately, a man is sent into my life called, he's late now, Joseph Mwewa, at that very time. And he says, he feels in his heart that we should start preaching the gospel in all football teams. I extended my hand, we shook. We financed the preaching of the gospel from Chidilabombo to Livingstone. Later on, we were even to start the first drop-in center in Kitwe. We bought a stadium from ZCCM. That's a positive side. They sold the Umoja Stadium in Mindolo. I paid the initial 10%. They sold it to us for 5 million kwacha against bids of 100, 120, 60 million those days. Because we simply said we want it for a drop-in center. So they said you pay 10% and the other 4.5, you have, they gave us 15 years or something to pay. And fortunately, the Catholic Church, a priest who came from Malaysia, gave us the other check to pay for the whole place. But here's the point. We had people from my church in the evangelical center actually coaxing the pastor, Pastor Mwewa, to sell Umoja Stadium to them, and he would pocket the difference outside. I was not even understood in my own church. Literally ostracized. It's been a lonely path, my friend. Very lonely. One time I was given an opportunity to speak to 45 pastors in a lunch hour fellowship. I asked them a question. You people, when you think someone is a Christian and he ascends into political power, you have overnight prayer meetings. You are praying for that person to succeed. Here I am, a Christian like you, in the Football Association of Zambia, chairman of the biggest sport of this country. I have never had an overnight prayer meeting in my honor. Later on, I don't even think you pray for me in your private lives. Do you get the point? Because, by the way, because I went into football, some of them assumed that I had backslidden. To this day, there are others who even went around spreading rumors about me. I couldn't even walk into church anymore because of the long eyes, It's like a sinner I was walked in. And I stayed away. Continued with the work that I was doing. And the work we did. So, I understand when the other side also doesn't understand me.
Does that battle, does that battle push you to politics? Because I'm thinking.
Politics I went in because again I saw a need. I was a strong supporter of the MMD up to 91. 20 days into their office, I told them they were not going to succeed and that they were going to mess up this country. Hindsight, my words have come to fruition. Then later when friends like Nevers and a few others came and said, guys, what do we do for our country? I said, no, we have to go out in there and do what we can. So we formed an NGO which we converted into a political party.
In other words, do you feel that the church has been very hypocritical or is very hypocritical and really hasn't helped this country be
they are one track
on a better place?
They are one track.
Spiritually speaking, you feel you are spiritually neglected when you're first boss?
Horribly. Even not first boss, even as I have continued. All this time that I have been involved in soccer was seen like I have given up on God. Are you with me? Until just a couple of months ago when I heard Mensa preaching at Bread of Life, when he talked about Daniel in Babylon. And I said to myself, oh my God, I wish he had preached this sermon in 1980. For Christians to understand that Christians, God can open doors for Christians to go into areas you think are no-go area. Now, as I sit here, I can also tell you, don't come into football if you don't have this muscle. It's not church. It's a different world.
Isn't it politics? What's the difference between football
You could say that. I've been in politics before.
Politics.
I've been in mainstream politics before. Remember, I was vice president of NCC. Then I became general secretary of NCC. I was a member of the MMD under Mwanawasa. Then I joined the PF, and Mr. Sata graciously appointed me to the Central Committee. He then appointed me elections chairman. This strategy used in 2021. We were the seed plot. It's me who said, listen, you cannot beat an incumbent party with no witnesses. in every polling district. Forget it. It's me who coined it as elections chairman. Then I left them.
Let's talk about
Central Committee member. But some people interpreted that I'd left the PF. Fine. It's their interpretation.
Let's talk about the politics of football.
Yeah.
Jabez Zulu gets impeached in 1995.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, Simataa Simataa is alive and kicking and firing.
Mm-hmm.
What are your reflections on that?
No regrets.
Jabez had to go.
Yes. He used $1 million kwacha of football funds on his personal vehicle.
Wait, the story was he was going for the Football Association of Zambia AGM.
Okay.
And when he
was coming from an executive committee meeting.
And then, yeah, he was doing fast business. Then
so
he had the breakdown.
Because you are doing fast business, that gives you the right to just take money from fast.
Did you have anything personal against
this? Remember, he was the secretary of Rokana. And I was a soccer fan of Rokana. And not even just a soccer fan, with the late Chris Kawanu. The both of us were Moses' eyes and ears for players.
What was your role?
It was in the
impeachment.
I think I moved the motion. Yeah, somebody seconded, and there was nobody else to defend him. So the whole executive left. We blamed it on the whole executive. That was fast money. It's not your personal money, Mwana. It's fast money.
Now, where was the Christian in you in that
So,
situation?
What are you implying? That Christians
are
doormats?
I'm not saying that they are doormats, but I'm basically asking, perhaps the golden rule is we need to forgive.
There. Oh, good that you say that. Let me say something to you.
Or did you help your brother who was backsliding?
Where?
Jabez.
They had already chosen and taken the money. They didn't even offer. By the way, there was a council meeting where they were interrogated. Nobody even offered the refund. They didn't. The opportunities to repent were there, they were not taken.
So now, they were arrogant and they had to go?
I can't say that.
But what was your feeling when you moved the motion?
The money, they abused their authority. They must pay for it. They abused authority. And the money went and never came back, by the way. $1 million kwacha that time. On fixing his car and towing it and whatever. By the way, you're forgetting that I had been in FAS just a few months before. Where we spent our own money running FAS. Because FAS had no money. There were no executive allowances. We actually used to meet on the middle here, Kabwe. The Copper Belt people would come to Kabwe, we would go to Kabwe. And we would be in a borrowed boardroom from Masie. God bless that man's heart. The other unsung hero of football. Masie Motels. So he went and an interim committee was chosen. They chose me to chair it. And it was supposed to be for 6 months. After 6 months, I also ran into politics at the time. The political system felt I was not the best. By the way, that's the first time in my whole life as a Zambian that I realized I was lost. Because the politics of '96 were actually tribalism.
What happened?
Yeah. Well, there were talk of how could you allow that Uliomulo Shulia to be your president. Kick him out. And that's because I had a difference with Mr. Ronald Posson. And by the way, here's the background to that. We met in Kawa as an executive up to about 3 o'clock in the morning to review the outing in South Africa where we were horribly humbled by Egypt 3-0 in the final Simba game. So I came back as delegation leader. I was reporting to the executive. I said to them, this trip was terrible, you know. And cut a long story short, the executive decided, let's remedy. We've given Posson, because Posson came back, not under me, but under Jabas. He came back. We had given him 3 assistants. The 4th one we reserved for the executive to appoint. He appointed 3. Fred Nasirere and somebody else. So that 4th one, we put Fred Mwina. Because Fred was a disciplinarian.
But you knew what that meant.
Well, I thought people had gotten over it. Really. That's where I can raise my hand and say I was naive. I explained to the executive that it was a live wire that. But they said, listen, we have to have discipline in the team. I mean, in South Africa, the team went discoing, actually. The moment I go to sleep, they get on the bus and go. Anyway, one of my executive members, I know who, called Person and told him that we have made this decision. Yet the executive decided I was going to deliver that news to him. Since we were actually meeting in the morning for Good Morning Zambia. So the meeting ended around 3 o'clock. I decided to start driving because 3 o'clock in the morning, huh? Because I wouldn't make it for Good Morning Zambia if I slept. I got to the car park. We met. I said to him, good morning, coach. And he answered with unprintables. I was shocked. I said, Ronald, what makes you say that? And you are bringing Fred. You're bringing Fred. I said, oh, he already knows. That's where the quarrel started. It went into the studio. I told Frank Mutuvila, I said, listen, I can't continue with the interview. You interview him. Because the problem I have is that I will not go on national television and tell the nation lies. Never. I'll have to tell them the way I saw things and witness them. Now, if I do that, this man is going to lose a lot of followers in the manner in which he handled the team in South Africa. So you go with him. That was the issue.
So the sacrificial lamb, Simataa resigns before Bloemfontein 1996.
That is what happened. Now, when the powers that be in government heard that, they thought I should go. And they actually mobilized my executive, without me knowing. My executive was in Lusaka and having a meeting private with Person. And he told them lies about what had happened.
What did he say?
So I was tipped by Kenon Pash. But chairman, where are you? I said, I'm in the office. There's a meeting here at Anchor House. What meeting? He says, your whole executive has arrived. They were flown in, boss. Flown in to come and impeach me. So when I walked in, I sat right at the end of the table. They were all taken aback. So I said, no, gentlemen, let me just join in. No, it's nice you have even come. The coach has explained what happened in the car park. Then I said, okay, let me ask a few questions. I said, Person, did I at any point use a derogatory term against you or even an insult? He said, no. Oh, did you at any point use a derogatory term or insults at me? Kept quiet. Then I said, don't you remember the word monkey? That's when I remember Watson Chiti and the late Mutupa. Said, you mean you called us here to come and listen to a coach insulting our chairman? And I said, no, guys, carry on with the program. Cut a long story short, that's when I learned that I was lousy. That is the saddest day of my life in terms of being a national.
But you grew up one Zambia, one nation.
Yes.
But I want to ask this. Ultimately,
by the way, since that day,
we are told that, I don't know, there's this love affair that just will never die. Government and football.
It can't die, it won't die.
What
anywhere in the world.
What was your definition of football and government? Because
it's a brat. Football was a brat being spoiled by government. And I still insist that even now, to a certain extent, it is. You know what has even happened now? In this country, politicians actually, police, legal bodies of this country are so afraid of fuzz. They are afraid to act when fuzz people do wrong. Oh, no, FIFA will ban us. So who says that they have a right to break the law? Who says that?
Football is a brat.
Yes. It's been spoiled.
Hook, line and sinker.
It's been spoiled, sadly. Yeah.
But that would probably be true in many countries.
That's why sometimes the first presidents think that they are a second president in this country. You see that? And they run football like it's another government. It's not.
Let's talk about 1998. Bobo Dialaso. Teddy Mlonga is actually president. Again, the government is called into action to extinguish
a very unfortunate incident. I'll tell you. I was out of the country driving from South Africa. When I reached town, I picked up a Post newspaper. Headline. I couldn't believe it. I actually parked downtown there. Read the whole story and I said, no, not Teddy. Not Teddy. It can't be him. They must be talking about somebody else. I drove straight to his office. And when I met him, I said, President, I just want a copy of that account they are referring to. I want to go and read it and study it. He gave me a copy. And I went home. I read through it. I couldn't see where Teddy had been wrong. I gave it to an accountant friend of mine. I said, listen, you might see something I can't.
He was accused of, well, impropriety.
Yes. That's when I put on my boxing gloves and said to myself, the man needs to be defended.
Now, you putting on the boxing gloves, is it coming from you being tagged Lozi and being...
no, justice.
Being kicked out of the executive?
Justice. For me, it's justice. My friend, I will defend you even if you are my worst enemy. When they bring injustice on you. That's me. That's me. And I stood for Ted. I really did. And I'm proud of it. A couple of years later, I stood against him.
What was the issue?
Well, the issue
what was the real issue in your view?
The real issue was that he misappropriated money. No, he didn't. The people who misappropriated money are the minister from the youth and sport, the judge who traveled down with him. They got money from the first vote when they already had allowances from their various areas, Sports Council and Ministry of Youth. Those are the people that the law should have come down on. So Teddy was an scapegoat.
So it had nothing to do with Teddy, it was...
No, sir. And in fact, even within FAZ, Imutiaz, you remember? Imutiaz was a team manager or something. He was accused and then he finally got out of court proceedings. Remember there was Andre Mutine. Remember there was George Mungwa. You see that? All those people were never proved. So somebody somewhere, I don't think, did their homework. And they wanted to go and... we ended up losing Imtiaz. Imtiaz used to sponsor football. Up to that time, from that time to this day, he doesn't even walk into a stadium.
So, it was never an issue of someone witch hunting against Teddy. It was just...
No, they were witch hunting
dishonest people that...
They did. They blamed him for the thing that he never did. Up to this day, no one can convince me about that issue. Because me, I looked at the records. That's the first place I ran to, the record.
Did that affect the performance of the team in '98? Because we are knocked out in the first round.
Now, there were also other politics. The issue of some money which came out of State House, the players were supposed to share, that never got shared equally and properly. So all that played on that team. Remember, isn't that the same time when Kalusha was removed from the captainship? Yeah, the captainship, and another person given the captainship. And then again it went back to Kalusha. There was just too many things we were fighting within ourselves. You don't go to war like that.
What was the greatest mistake with CAN 98? Apart from the Bobo Gate, off the pitch we had our own controversies.
The bad treatment of Kalusha Bwari as captain. What the people forget or forgot, which I quickly saw in 92, 94, is that the captain has a measure of influence in the team, particularly Kalu. He's a very strong leader. Are you with me? you think you are tampering with him, when actually you are tampering with 6, 7 other players.
What was the motivation? I'm sure you
I don't
were...
know. Suddenly people just felt his glory had to be taken away. That's how I can put it. Some people became very close to him afterwards. Yeah. But I remember my friend Gerard defending him in the Times of Zambia, right to the end.
So that on the pitch, stripping Kalusha of his captaincy. But after the first game, well, it seemingly dawned on Elijah that this armband is a little too heavy, and he was given back.
You see, you cannot take away. There's one thing that most people, I don't know, felt within themselves that they should take away. And that was Kalusha's contribution in the national team. And the size of his stature. So some people thought they could just poke on it. That's one mistake, I think.
Was it Bukadziz? Was it Bukadziz, the executive, or?
Bukadziz was already polluted by some people here in that executive. I'll give you another classic.
They polluted him
prior about
Kalusha.
Football, even Kalusha. Let me give you an example. I'm City of Lusaka chairman. Bukadziz comes in the country. He spent time in Ndola. 2-3 months later, he comes to Lusaka. So I was warned. You know, I used to have people around telling me, any dignitaries who come, you know, let me know. So I walked down to meet him. Got there, extended my hand. He grabbed it very strongly. And I said, I'm Simataa, the chairman of City of Lusaka. You know how he exclaimed? He let go and said, oh, the Godfather, the Godfather. So I said, what do you mean? He says, I've been told about you. He put his hand around my shoulder and began to narrate what he was being told.
Good or bad?
Evil. Bad things. He even mentioned to me who it was. Don't have anything, he's bad, he will influence you badly. You know, he told me all that. And you know, Vanessa Vasungu, they are very open.
a little bit.
So even with Kalusha, they're bad-mouthed. The same people, I guess.
A little bit told me that, I think, upon arrival in Zambia, when some journalists asked Bukadziz about Kalusha, he asked, who is Kalusha? Did he really not know him, or he was being sneaky?
I can't speak for him.
Based on the character and your interactions with him.
Based on what he told me the first time I met him about this bad mouth in Ndola, yeah, I knew that even with Kalusha, they must have bad mouthed. That's how he was stripped of his captainship. Those are the ugly parts of football. In football, we have a lot of people who are...
run their mouth in the wrong way.
Yeah. They suffer from mouth diarrhea.
Year 2000, Evaristo Kasunga is first president. At the time, Simataa Simataa is on fire. Again, the
first year
reputation,
of his office,
by the way, the reputation that you got for yourself after the impeachment of Jabez and Simataa business as usual over the years, made you a very difficult person to manage or deal with. And there are some narrators of history who will say, you know what, Evaristo Kasunga was very smart to put Simataa on the leash, under 17 coach.
No, I don't read it that way. First year of Mr. Kasunga was the most quiet. Was the most quiet year of football. And by the way, don't forget that a good friend of mine is in that executive, Emmanuel Mnaid, who is also a Christian. We actually traveled together to Ndola for that meeting. I told him at Impala service station that, oh, Emma, where we are going to kick you out. This 1 year, you guys, what have you done? You've just been sitting in the office drinking tea.
You upset about CAN 2000? First round ejection?
Even what followed, administration-wise. So when we got to Ndola, I rose up and moved an impeachment motion from the floor. I was seconded by Anthony Kasolo. And then Green Buffalo's chairman and Red Arrows put a counter. We then debated. It's one of the best AGMs that I had ever attended. Because we debated for 7 hours on what? Football, for the first time. And what this executive had failed to do. And what others felt they had done. You get the point? After 7 hours, Evaristo got tired. So he says, okay, let's just vote. Fire or whatever. Now, of course, the Constitution protected them. But when the vote was finally cast, we lost. And you know what? We still continued in the meeting. He still pointed at us on other issues. We still debated football. He won my heart forever, boss. Because I had presidents who, maybe even up to now, when they look you in the eye, they spit. But
I'm just thinking, maybe Evaristo Kasonga is just a smart politician.
By the way, he was my classmate at Unza. So I knew him too.
So he knew you too well. And he said that the only way I can put him on the leash is give him
the one who approached me for that job was Pivot Simanza. And I said to him, Pivot, are you sure? He says, yes. So I went to see Evaristo. I said, boss, thank you very much for the appointment. What is it that you want to do with the national team? Under 17. Win cups or develop players? He says, no, I want children to play. Thank you, President. That's how I took up the appointment. They later again appointed me to the under 20. Now, of course, here's the point, Mana. Even with the current executive, the first 2 years of his tenure, did you hear me in public? What Evaristo did, in my view, if that's what you're referring to as wisdom, is that he kept his ear open. I could walk up to him and give the worst suggestions of football. He would still listen and would tell me, but I don't agree with you. And I would walk away. Why would I go and cry in the public domain? The times you have heard me cry or speak is because the person has stopped listening. It happened even with Kalusha. When he came here, he was coach. We were like that. We worked together. We even traveled to Algeria together. Are you with me? And then he became vice president. Before he became vice president, I met him on 2 occasions in South Africa, Johannesburg, with his current wife. One night we even went up to about 2 a.m. Who was at the privilege to sit with Kalusha, his wife, and yourself, up to 2 a.m. in the morning, talking and laughing? Who? Me. I did. I advised him the wrongs and right. I even said to him, please now, Papat, don't get into football politics. You're the only icon we've got in our country. Politics in football will mess you up. He says, no, that's what we need to go and change. Are you with me? Yeah. He comes into office, we're communicating. When he was vice to Teddy, he was the only one that really I communicated with. Remember, I opposed Teddy's second coming. On the grounds of the Constitution. Not on personal grounds. 98, I almost lost my job at Finance Bank because of supporting him. Almost. I was even scrambled into Parliament to answer for not having accounted for 94. Somehow, the receipt file went missing at the Ministry of Sport. When the audit reached them, there was no record about our 94 outing. I was summoned to Parliament. Bob Schinga was the chairman of that committee that interrogated me. And by the way, a little bit had warned me that they were going to finally sort me out. But they still failed. Yeah. You see, I have always thanked God.
You're an elusive character.
No. In fact, I'm the easiest person to read. Me, I'm like water. Huh? You put me in a round thing, I'm round. You put me in a hot, I'm hot. You put me in the fridge, I freeze. It's really up to you what you want to do with me. It's up to you. So when you hear me in the public, it's not that I hate Kalusha the language I used to hear. Oh, he hates Kalusha. He's jealous. How can I be jealous when I've never played football?
Tell me something. From a coaching perspective, would you say the turn of the millennium was actually crucial for Zambian football going forward, and that was the real turning point in us putting our act together?
For the first time, we tried to follow principles of football by grooming a team long distance or long time. The team that wins 2012 started with Kasunga, under 17, under 23, and a few professionals. Are you with me? That's what we had lost years before. That's what we have lost today. And after 2012. Now, after 2012, again, we forgot a football principle. Look at Germany, look at Spain. They don't keep the players all because they want, you know, the desire to win sometimes goes out in some players. They are still good. Let them go and play in the club. Get new ones who you can challenge and say, your friends won it. But we continued holding on to that team until about a year or two ago. You see the point? So those are the principles.
I'm just thinking, so your under 17 generation had the likes of Renford Kalawa, Clifford Mlenga, and the under 23 that you later went on to assist at the likes of Chris Katongo, Jacob Mlenga, Collins Mbesuma, and that generation. Is that ultimately that team stayed together long enough to actually do what was required? Yes. And whilst that was happening, let's just punctuate our thoughts a little bit. It's because in 2004, Zambia fails to qualify for the Africa Cup of Nations. And then, yeah, you have to go to another AGM, Mr. Kasunga, and appear before it. And yeah, Mr. Simataa is still alive and kicking. Yeah, we didn't go to AFCON 2004.
Sadly, the Benin game was a disaster. And Mr. Kasunga paid heavily for it.
What was his biggest error in your view?
You know, I don't think our team was ready to play Benin, because the excuses we had when they came back, I heard from Ben, they threw blackjack on us, they did this, and I said to myself, oh my God, we were not ready. We weren't. And the internal politics in that team also had taken the best of them, in my view. Yeah.
What were the internal politics?
I don't think I want to discuss most of them now. Yeah, but they were not healthy. There was a lot of wrangling between even the coaches, the players, and everything. But the preparation mentally for that game was not there. It wasn't.
So the buck stops on Evaristo Kasunga?
No, the coach, Ben, he accepted that. Ben was a very close friend of mine. A couple of times he spent time here.
No, I'm just thinking.
So he used to tell me very honest things. Like, for instance, even when Kalusha became coach, I advised him. I talked to him about it. I said, are you ready mentally? Because when you were coach, Teddy Mulonga appointed you coach. He asked that you go and talk to Kalusha to come and assist you. Kalusha refused. You see that? So now you're accepting to be his assistant. Are you ready for that mentally? It won't affect you? He says no. Proceed. But you know, Faz never employed Ben.
I'm learning. But let me ask this question. So the Kasunga executive bring Kalu as technical director at the time. And after failing to qualify for 2004, the then technical director says this thing has to change. He promotes Chris Katongo and others.
You dropped a lot of those old guys, yeah.
Necessary decision at the time?
I
because
so.
other people
so.
vilified him and thought he was being...
No, he was going to the principle of football. Are you with me? Here we want, somebody loses and you want to carry on with that person. No, sometimes the loss affects them mentally for a longer time. They are better off even, some of the players came back. You get the point? Yeah, you are better off doing that. And I think his decision then was correct.
Was Would you say that was the best decision the Kasunga executive made?
Yes, they compensated for their failure to go to the Africa Cup. They left us with something that wins the Africa Cup. Now, you see, here when we give glory in this country, we do not see it as a relay. We see one person. But football doesn't work like that. That's why I've always argued. What is this man of the match thing? You think he can be man of the match alone? You know? What is this top scorer thing? You think he can be a top scorer alone? There was no midfielder with that final assist. There was no defender. So that's my problem. Okay, I understand you have to give those rewards. Are you with me? Take, for instance, even the reconstruction of the national team. Has anybody even thoroughly looked at that all fairly? Are you with me? Yes, Kalu has been given the glory due to him. But is he the only one who played the part in the reconstruction of the national team? Are you with me? Less than a year from the tragedy, we came out second. Was that a fluke?
Tell me something. We'll fast forward a little bit. FAS have an AGM. Kalusha stands as vice president, and he wins. And the greatest football icon who you spent lots of time with is vice president of the Football Association of Zambia.
By the way,
you later on become a fierce critic of him having what was termed as the dual roles, technical director and vice president. You said he had to leave.
The constitution did not allow it. Still does not allow it to this day.
I'll ask you.
An employee of FAS cannot be an executive member.
Let me ask you a question. You have friends in life, and there are people you relate to and speak to. And I'm bringing you back to what happened in '95 with Jabez Zulu. Again, you said this is a person you could speak to and whatnot. At what point, what was the tipping point between you and Kalusha and for you to now go full throttle publicly against him?
The tipping point between me and Kalu is on a day when he calls me, I don't know from where, but I was at the football ground training my team at Unza. And he threatened me. I even told him, this is the last time you'll ever threaten a person, because I'm reporting you to the police. The technology of the time didn't allow recording, but I found that very sad, and I cut him off. We never spoke, by the way, from that day until about recently, one-on-one. Never spoke.
What was the issue?
No. He felt that I was being unjust to him by some of the comments he had heard from people, and yet I had given him an assurance that I'm not one to go around talking about you. If you hear anything, call me. I'll confirm I said it or I didn't. Yeah, but don't believe and then come and pop judgment. Are you with me? So we differed. But he was my only friend in that executive when he was vice president. I'll give him credit too. Because there's a time they had the needs assessment. I was instructed to leave in spite of not being there, being part. He stood with me. The other people felt I shouldn't be there. I said, okay. Then I finally left. Dual role is a constitutional matter. Friends, you consult, you talk to people, but rules are rules. Are you with me? Even this current regime now, before we went public, we were telling them, don't do this. That is wrong. That is right. Try this. Then they made up the, you see, advice is what it is. Advice. You know?
I'm just thinking. So in all these years, bad blood, acrimony between the two of you, there was nobody in your circles who could come and tell the both of you, listen, you've come from
actually with
way back.
With me and
Smoke
Kalusha.
the peace pipe.
Me and Kalusha.
Yes.
Emmanuel did. Emmanuel did. In fact, even on the eve of that day, we are going to make that proposal to the council about his duo. Emmanuel came to see me. And he pleaded that we shouldn't go ahead with that proposal. I said to him, it's a bit too late now. He says, you can withdraw it. I said, no, it's not. So Emmanuel had tried. We went into the meeting, and for other reasons, other than what I discussed with Emmanuel, we pulled off that proposal.
He didn't have enough tact. He was his vice captain on the pitch and long-time friend to you.
Yeah.
Cool.
But he's the only one.
Probably could have been the best person.
He's the only one. He's the only one. In this current situation here, I will give credit to the acting secretary to the cabinet, Patrick Kangwa. I'll give credit to quite a number of other people have come.
I'll come to that one. You're jumping the gun a little bit. So that was the situation. So that goes on. He then vies for presidency in 2008. You offer yourself as vice president. And in that campaign, the so-called bad blood and animosity between the two of you seemingly rages on publicly, where you are accused of being jealous. And some people say people dare speak against Kalu today because Simataa Simataa made it possible to.
I didn't, it wasn't to open a door for anyone. It wasn't. It was just a matter of principle. I think I have a problem with the law. Because I always said to myself, why should the law be left to conscience? So those who don't have a conscience can breach it. Those of you who have a conscience have to obey it. Because half the time when you go to pray your God, he reminds you of how many laws you've broken. No, it's not fair. Either we remove the whole law, we become lawless, or we all obey it, one of the two. You see that? I stood for vice, by the way, that's the last time I stood for vice presidency. And then later on, I thought a committee member. They came to see me. First, actually, it was committee member. The year that Teddy Mulonga won the second time. His supporters came to see me. We want you in this executive. But what is this you are saying that you're going to move an impeachment against Teddy? I said to him, the impeachment will be moved, whether I win or I lose. He is not supposed to stand again. Here's the problem. Let me explain it. In '98, when I stood with him 100%, the Sports Council of Zambia banned him. It's on record. He soldiered on. We in FAS pushed our weight behind him. Said, they are interfering. Are you with me? He finally buckled and resigned. Two things outstanding. No one resolved those two. So when he comes back a second time, I asked the question, have we resolved any? The constitution had also 20001 become tighter on those who had been banned by the Sports Council. So I said, can we clear this even before the elections? I was ignored. Privately I went, let's clear this before the elections. Let's get JB Sakala, chairman of the Sports Council, to either lift it or to say it is no longer effective. Never happened. So you are expecting me to keep quiet? Maybe I should have kept quiet. So I moved the motion to have him removed. It went through the appeals committee up to the Sports Council and then started rotting there. It took Dick Mpeneka to call me. Young man, come. He was General Secretary. Sit here. He gave me a rundown of himself. I said, Vakalamba, I've followed you all my life. Yeah. And cut a long story short, he then says to me, your letter will not be attended to. I said, good. Why not? He says, the president, Mwanawasa, once stayed here as president. Oh, is that so? Okay, you're the first one to be honest and straight with me. I tore up my letter in his presence. I said, let it be. And then he said, no. You have to put your letter. I said, no problem. I went to my office, drafted the letter to withdraw my original petition, and I gave it to him.
When you say the president wants Teddy Mlonga, and at the time I saw rest in peace, Levi Patrick Mwanawasa, again, are we admittedly saying that this marriage between football and state...
You can't divorce the marriage. What you can change is that parasitical arrangement.
Where
let me tell you
the
something.
state president...
If I am state president...
Yes.
The first president should be someone I can talk to. And if it is someone who I am uneasy about, I'll ensure my machinery gets him out of office.
Why?
It's just that.
Why is it important?
It's a pillar of my governance. You see that? Just like
you've been in
ministers.
Politics before.
Yeah, my ministers, are you with me? I've appointed them. I can pick up the phone anytime. Say even something wrong. But they can come back to me because there's a relationship.
I want to ask this.
That's
politically.
That's why I've always said, is he politically correct?
Okay. Politically speaking. And so if a national team is not doing well, and let's assume you are sitting in the state presidency chair.
Pick up the phone. Mr. President, Faz. What's happening?
So, first president needs to do well for him to be in good books
he
with
has to have an open 100% communication with the state president, Mana. Let's not muck around and joke around about it. That's the way it works. I saw it for myself in 96, boss. Yeah.
It cost you?
It cost me, yes. And all because the president then could phone and I don't pick up the phone, or I'm not where the phone came. He was given the impression that I didn't want to talk to him. Oh, by the way, let me also say something. I was so grateful that the late Mr. Chiluba gave me an opportunity to meet him in person like we are talking for 3 hours in his house. And we cleared all the webs you can think of. So even when my brother died, my heart was clear. So today I even find it uneasy to talk much about what happened before, because we reconciled on a number of issues.
Was it him as a person, or there were third parties that precipitated?
Let me just say, it was a 3-hour meeting. We had a good time.
You reconciled? And
he really appreciated my visit. I appreciated the fact that he gave me audience.
So you need to take care of this brat. You need to take care of this brat.
Football.
Okay. 2010, we make it to Angola. Heverena. We managed to get out of the group for the first time since Bloemfontein. And you're very familiar to that transaction there. And then, yeah, for once we're very happy. But around that area, going into 2011, Kalu versus Simataa became real big, real ugly. And so for many people in the Zambian footballing fraternity, they got to learn of a gentleman by the name of Andrew Kamanga. Whilst acting with Simataa Simataa proved to be the chief proponents, the tormentors in chief to a sitting FAS executive that is believed had to go. The first question is, what was the real issue? My question too is already there. I hope the answer is very short.
Yeah, I'll give it very shortly. Nothing personal, first of all. But
what was the tipping point?
Okay, let me put it in reverse. From the time, and by the way, I made my statements public in the newspapers and everywhere. No one has ever come to me to say, on this one you are wrong. Not that I feel right. I'm just saying, no one. Because I kept my arguments on constitution. Are you with me? I kept my arguments on transparency. I saw nothing wrong with asking that if we've played Brazil, have we made any money from that as FAS? Because when I went into FAS much earlier, I found that there is money that comes from the host country to the FA. Are you with me? There's money. So what's wrong with asking for transparency? When I ask, for instance, that the ticket refund, have we been accounting for it? Because I discovered also, one day I'm sleeping in my room, somebody knocks at the door and he drops 2 checks. One for $25,000, the other one for about $3,000. Anyway, what is this? He says it's a ticket refund, you don't know. So no. And by the way, the checks are in my personal name, not President Faz, not Chief Delegation Leader. Simataa Simataa. I could have quietly walked out with my passport, gone to the bank and cashed them. I called Soli, I called Kalusha Waria, said, guys, let's go. We went to CAF first to confirm, then we went into the bank. The money for the players, I didn't know that CAF used to give players $100 each, close to that, for surf, for toothpaste. I didn't know. No one told me. There was no handoff. And the $25,000 we went to see Mr. Muluvisha. I said, this money is government money. You bought us the ticket. But I have an allowance crisis. Can I pay? He agreed. It's there in the handover notes. After that, I now started asking the question. 94, where is that money? 96, where is that money? 98. When I come and ask under Kalusha, I hate him.
But you...
Fortunately, this one, no, we have not gone to the Africa Cup.
No,
otherwise you would have
I'm going to ask this question, is that we had been to the Africa Cup of Nations in between. You were against Mlonga, but nothing to do with that. You were against other presidents.
Remember, I also supported Mlonga. I also supported Kasunga. I balanced.
So your belief was that Kalusha, as head of the association, became corrupt or was corrupt, or what was your real feeling?
My real feeling is that they are not running things properly. They should be transparent. My real feeling was that we are about to lose our own icon in the mud of football politics. That's my real feeling. Nothing personal. That's why it was not very difficult. Over a phone call, we chat with Carlo.
Now,
since then we've been chatting.
Now, let's go back to the year.
Let me tell you something that really...
Let's go back to the year. And it was believed in certain quarters that yourself and Andrew Kamanga, okay, had support for your ideas. That, yes, things were not going right. And then the government position was that they agreed with you and they offered all manner of support to help you legally get Kalusha out of the presidency of the Football Association of Zambia. Is that true?
When you are fighting a war, Mandela said that before. You see that? If you have a problem with government, we didn't have a problem with them. You get the point? When you're fighting a war, you want a cause done, you get support from people. If you don't get along with those people, it's your problem, not mine. Yes, we were helped.
And you didn't feel it was political interference?
No. We had made up our minds what we wanted, with or without that help. Are you with me? So it wasn't.
Now, it was a delicate period for Zambian football.
Yes.
Zambian football was, well, about to be hanged. Did the lover of football in you feel that this is a little bit too much? We need to calm down.
No. The executive is not the football team. It happens during their time. But they are not the football team. The football team does not belong to FAS. The football team does not belong to opposition or to the ruling party. The football team belongs to all of us. So I had that divide in my mind, and still do. You see the point? If I had the chance, I would still go and support Zambia, in spite of my relationship with FAS.
So, whilst all that was happening, Zambia qualified to the Africa Cup of Nations.
Great.
And then we go to Gabon and Equatorial Guinea and win the tournament. Yeah. And when we come back, there's a placard, Simataa Simataa, standing on the side of Greatest Road and telling everyone that I've retired from football.
No, that was to welcome them. That was later. Yes, I mean, my whole life's dream was to see Africa Cup won.
At that point, did you feel that you were being unfair to Kalu in the process?
No, I even congratulated him and everybody else that had managed that particular action. But you see, even you guys had become narrow-minded to the fact that I'm an opponent. So if a congratulation came to me, it never saw broad daylight. But it was on my Facebook. I sent a message to him on his WhatsApp.
Retired.
But then I left national politics of football.
Oh, national politics. What did that mean at the time?
At the time, it meant me standing for a position or wanting to be in the first executive. I didn't want to. Done.
Thanks to Kalu. No. Kalu had retired smart.
No. He had led the win of the Africa Cup, and I felt it was my time to go. To leave that now.
Tell me something. Whilst that tiff, can I call it that? What that tiff was taking place, when Stopila Suzu scores that penalty, what was the feeling in your camp, so to speak?
I don't know. I watched the game here at home alone. But if I remember, I ran out of the
Did you call Andrew Kamanga?
I ran out, maybe later. I was with everybody on the street. We were dancing here. Around, we went that way, and I came back home. Yeah. It was a good day, man. It had nothing to do with us as personalities. I'm sure even, say, Kalu, if the national team now won the Africa Cup, he would be equally happy. It has nothing to do with personalities and issues.
Okay, so that victory in 2012 came, and because you're a politician, I bring in this dimension. So 2011, my coach Lufia Sata ascends to the presidency of the Republic of Zambia, and Rupia Bwezani-Banda loses that election, and where it was widely believed that Rupia Bwezani-Banda's regime had actually supported you to the hill to actually try to achieve the objective of getting Kalusha out. Did the dynamic change after the inauguration of Michael Sata, so to speak? As in, did it change the cause or even the support that you had previously received?
The government which came in of His Excellency Michael Sata, in my view, had a different approach to the game. Firstly, Wamdala had no football in him. Soccer wasn't his cup of tea, Assad. You know, so that kind of made everybody pull back.
Scared?
No, it was a change of government. The previous government had a different attitude.
Let me ask you this. My coach Lufia Sata is a person you knew all too well. And
no, in politics, yes.
Yes, you knew him all too well. And when that happened, did that motivate you and say that he would probably interpret our action to be pro-MMD and this is PF, so things have to change?
Not really. We still continued on the desire to have Mr. Kalusha leave office. It didn't stop. It didn't, in spite of the government changing. The one thing that most people don't also appreciate is that when the government changed, can I put it this way? I'm supposed to be closer to the government that comes into power.
Because you were once upon a time PF?
Yes. No, Central Committee member. Are you with me? Chairman of elections. On the other hand, Mr. Sata is Andrew Kamanga's uncle. We didn't feel threatened to stop. That's why we just continued on.
What did uncle tell nephew?
I don't know what they discussed.
You never attended a meeting where...
No. By the way, I never met Mr. Sata in government.
Did you even meet Rupia Bwezanibanda as state president?
After his last government?
Andrew Kamanga.
The last time I met him was at his old house in Leopardsville. I've not met him since he moved to the new house.
No, I'm saying during his presidency regards football issues.
No.
Because he was someone who was an avid soccer fan.
I met Rupia at State House as a friend. Not to do with Andrew Kamanga or Kalusha. By the way, it also got me into trouble with PF. Because I was frequenting Varupia at State House as a friend. Some people began to believe that I was spying. Spy what? What would I tell them? Tell Mr. Rupia about PF that he didn't know, by the way. And we never discussed PF, by the way. Never. The only time I remember he mentioned that, and I really laughed. I was meeting him again over lunch. We were having a chat. And then the vice president, Kunda, walked in. Now he kind of froze and thought he had disturbed the meeting. And Rupia says, just come in, this chap is a PF member, but he is my friend from a long time ago.
So, I'm just thinking, so the kids that are watching at home, what should they learn about politics with that? Because you can actually have tea and coffee with
it's important.
Somebody you don't feel is on the other side.
Let me give you an example. 2006, Vasata loses to Manawasa. I was chairman of elections. I went on assignment program, accused the government of rigging. 2008, Rupia wins and Vasata loses. I went on national television, assignment, and accused the government of rigging. But I still had time to have a cup of tea with Rupia. Because that's the way it's supposed to be. It's like, you know, what's so suspicious about an evangelical going to a Catholic service? I see nothing, not a problem. These are man-made things we have brought up among ourselves. Are you with me? We should be able to talk. Huh? I remember one vivid picture that always comes into my mind is Jimmy Carter losing to Ronald Reagan. They showed us a evening tea cup, where the two were even chatting over a cup of tea, and everybody. I said to myself, oh my God, in Africa this can happen.
But you were doing it.
That's why.
In Lusaka, Zambia.
That's why I would tell the kids out there, forget your political differences. There's also friendship. Maybe sometimes that is what helps to resolve issues. Varupia himself tells me of a visit he made to one country in the middle of Africa. I think it was Burundi or whatever. Where he says in the evening the president would come and say, Arabi, let's go. They go to the opposition party leader's home. He drives himself. That's the way it's supposed to be. It would be nice to have President Lungu go and visit HH and HH go and visit President Lungu. It reduces the tension, man. It does.
Let's fast forward. 2016, the battleground for the presidency of the Football Association of Zambia. Andrew Kamanga offers himself. You are, I don't know whether to call you chief campaign manager.
I was an agent. I was an agent for Mr. Kamanga.
Yeah. Operation MOBA, as others would call it. With hindsight, just tell us, how did you do it? And a lot of people thought it was
a walkover.
Next to impossible. It was. But it was done.
We did. I only had the help of, I think, two people. Gideon Kaumba, who is now registrar. I forget the third person, but it was a very difficult day. He did not, let me make this statement before. I don't think he in any way undermined Kalusha. But I can tell you in that election, I give a lot of credit to George Kasengere. He allowed for democracy. If he didn't, that was a lost election.
What do you mean, lost?
It could have been rigged. Just simple as that.
Football elections can be rigged?
Yes. We caught a number of people who tried to get into that election center. Some of them, even with clubs, would tell us, we've sent Mr. So-and-so. If so-and-so arrives, he's fake. He's not our delegate. We got them at the gates. Remember we created two places to enter. And we were checking on credentials at the gate, the three of us. And I was running between the two of them. You see the point? And we also got people coming in with fuzz youth cards. I've never seen them, by the way. First time. I don't know where those people came from.
Was that a testament of the dwindled popularity that Kalusha had?
No.
After many years of
Kalusha's
battling.
popularity did not dwindle. The second point I want to give credit to, I'd been in political elections. I'd run an election for the PF twice, 2006, 2008. The events of the night before an election are very important. The night before the election, in my view, Kalusha made a decision that kicked him out of office. When he declared support for Pivot Simwanza, remember there are two vice presidents running. He declared support in Ndola for Pivot Simwanza. That upset Richard Kazala to a point where Richard went to his supporters and said, you vote for me, you vote for Andrew Kamanga. So when the vice presidency election was announced, we counted. I knew Andrew had won. All I needed to do is keep my eyes that votes don't go like this.
At what point? At what point did you actually realize that we've got it now?
The vice presidency.
I'm saying the night before. Did you actually believe that Kazala had that power and the
yes,
potential
I did. Because I could see he kept his supporters very closely guarded in Kitwe and a bit in Chongola. I mean, he did his homework, mana. And in his camp were people like Black Oswale, Shenko, the good lady from Brenda. They all made it. So as these elections were counting, I was saying to myself, if it is true, he cast vote for Andrew Kamanga, we've won. Because the few that would be behind Andrew Kamanga and plus the ones from Kazala are ours. We've beaten this guy. Otherwise, Kanu, in my view, could have won that election.
He could have won.
He could have won.
He messed himself up.
But I give him credit for accepting and walking away. He didn't fight about it. He lost by 6 votes, I think. 6.
Well, let me ask you this. After Andrew Kamanga ascends to presidency and there was that retirement from national football thing, now everyone now says a big reward is coming for Simataa Simataa. General Secretary. And then, yeah, we're told your name is tabled in the executive committee meeting and everyone else is against you. Andrew Kamanga is a long ranger in that committee. Did it feel like it was as good as losing that election at Moba?
Nope. Here's the thing. Those who are close to me know how many times, I don't know how many times I told them, before the elections, I would never be General Secretary. Even if we won. They know that. My close friends know, and I gave them reasons. There are people that spoke into Mr. Kamanga's life, and still do, that were louder than me. And they had their own position regarding me. You know why I'm saying this? It's because when the opportunity now arises for him to put his weight behind me, he didn't.
Did you feel betrayed? That you had done so
I would have felt betrayed if I didn't know it was going to happen. But I knew it would.
You knew he was not going to throw his weight behind you.
I decided to show him what loyalty was. A number of times I would say to my friends, Nafideka, I would say, no, not now. Then I decided I'm going to show this man what loyalty is. And I'm happy I did.
Wait,
yeah.
You and Andrew Kamanga come from way back, even before the formation of what was called the National Football
in the Bank of Credit and Commerce.
Yeah, so you probably know each other at
Lifetime.
Yeah, lifetime. So
I also know that I'm not his best friend. He's good.
But you also knew that he was not going to support you at some point.
I knew that that would come because I saw a number of times the issues we used to discuss. I could see he's strong one day, he's weak the next day, strong one day. I understood that. But I decided, let me follow it through. Because here's the point. Today, you have a classic example. He has insisted on him being nominated, isn't it? Irrespective of an executive decision to support his nomination. He's strong about it. Are you with me? He could have been, even with me. If he really, really wanted me to be General Secretary.
Would you consider him as a friend?
I used to. Not the things which have happened.
Let me ask you this. Is that in your football career, you have had people you've differed with and reconciled with, sometimes after many years. What makes this one seemingly so special? That you seemingly, the way you speak, you seemingly cancel the idea of one day drinking a cup of coffee the way you do with Rupiah Banda when he was politically on the other side.
Trust. I never lost trust in other people. This one I have lost. Trust. Because here's a man who comes into my house to offer me a job and I decline. I say, you know, boss, I have quit football. I've retired. And secondly, you've banned me for life. Are you with me? And we discuss it privately in the presence of his ethics chairman, Kefas Katongo, in my house, the three of us. A month later, he goes on national television and announces to the whole country that I humiliated him in my house. Trust. And trust is very difficult to bring about. And many other things that have happened in between here. Trust.
How would you like your football life to be remembered? Or what's the best way to define it? Any regrets?
Nothing. I have no regrets, except maybe one. Because in 94, I remember going up to my close friend Gerard and I said, Gerard, I think we've done our part. It's time to move on in life. And then he looked at me and says, give it some more time. Maybe there are times I've felt maybe I should have listened. But then I remember I had come into it for a different cause, like I explained. You see that? I had come into this because I also saw a spiritual need. We had pastors, evangelists, walk all over Zambia, preaching the gospel. I started a football team, not even started. I picked up and then reoriented the team. Which most people would laugh at, oh, yeah, in Division 2, yeah, in Division 2. We never meant that team to go anywhere. It was a vehicle through which we reached people, right, with the gospel of Christ. And it has produced a number of pastors. I have a number of pastors from those footballers who crossed my path. With a lot of Christians too, strong. And by the way, it was not just about football. A few of our players made it in the football hierarchy. Most of them got life coaching. That was on my heart. By the way, that's the only thing I miss right now. That's the only thing I miss. I wish I could coach a football team.
Simataa. Pleasure talking to you.
I've enjoyed your chat and good.